Welcome to Win Talk Radio, where you will learn how to talk truth and take action. Hosted by WIN, Women Impacting the Nation. Join your hosts, Sue Trombino, founder and president of WIN, Debbie Healy, public policy advisor for Faith, Family, and Freedom, Cari Campos, co-founder of Self-Evident Ministry, and Jannique Stewart, founder of Love Protects Ministry and speaker with Life Training Institute. For more information about WIN Talk Radio, go to our website at womenimpactingthenation.org. Because remember, when we show up, we win.
Here at Win Talk Radio, our heart is to encourage people and give them hope. As Christians and conservatives, we spend so much time focusing on the negative and what the left is doing and what the Democrats are doing, when the reality is God is moving powerfully, and we see it everywhere we go. He's waking up people, opening their eyes to the truth. And so the very reason, or the very thing that we see as a negative, that the media is not showing us the positive proves that we are winning the day. And so we just want to encourage you to take a stand, take a fight, speak boldly, because people are listening and God is opening eyes. And so the reality is when we show up, we win, and God will win the day through his people when we do it together in unity.
Well, welcome to Win Talk Radio. We are so glad to have you all here joining us. I'm Debbie Healy, one of the hosts here. I am joined by Jannique Stewart and our fearless leader for Women Impacting the Nation, Sue Trombino, our president and founder. And we are just here, really today our episode is to talk about what's happening in the military. We always want to talk truth. We always want to have people take action, but we just really want to center ourselves about what is happening. It just seems like there's chaos out there, not only in our culture, but we see it affecting our military. And our military, when you think about America, is home of the free because of the brave. The brave are those men and women that are serving in our armed services. And what we see happening, this agenda that's there between the transgender, between the CRT, between the loss of religious liberty in our military, most of us just throw our hands up and think, what is happening? Our biggest icon when we look at the military is when we see that vision of George Washington on his knees in the snow next to his horse, and you know that man is praying, and he's he's getting ready to cross the Potomac. What better faith do our men and women in the armed services? This is a profession where they are putting their lives on the line, and if they don't have their right to go and practice their faith and call out to God in this type of profession, what are we saying for America as a nation? So really we wanted to talk first and start with the transgender, what's happened in our military. And I want to go back a little bit and remember the Obama administration. And during the Obama administration is really when we saw the fruition, the aggressive recruitment of transgenders in our military. And I want you to think about that. This is an Army recruiter that is looking out at a room full of young recruits, young high school students that are looking for their future, going to serve our country. And that recruiter is being incentivized under the Obama administration to look for that transgender in that crowd and recruit that transgender, male or female at the time, into our military. And we're recruiting them under the Obama administration with a contract that says we will provide for you the medical, the prescriptions, the surgery, whatever it takes. If you want to become a man to a woman and a woman to a man, we will allow you to come into our military, and that will be our first priority, is to give you that opportunity. Now, if you just even try to equate that to an employer who's looking to employ somebody, and they have a new employee come into their business, but they know immediately, we're going to be providing you this type of surgical procedure and everything that entails, from the medication to the psychological counseling to the surgery, the pre-op and the post-op. we know when that recruit comes into the military, it's going to be about 8 months that they aren't even going to be able to function in their job. But yet we were recruiting them aggressively in the military. And I want you to think of these numbers. We've got about 15,000 transgenders in the military. To go from a male to a female is about $100,000 for the surgery. To go for a female to a male is $89,000. This was all under the Obama administration. Fast forward to Trump, and what was one of the first executive orders that Trump put into place: stop the recruitment of transgenders. And he wasn't saying it to be ugly or hateful. It was this is not the place for the military. Now, if you want to serve the government, you want to serve your country, it doesn't have to be in the military. You can certainly do it in other government jobs. Why does it have to be in the military? When we know the goal of the military is to defend this nation. And when when Trump looked at the numbers, and it showed that in order to perform all of these surgeries, to have these men and women out of their job, it was going to be approximately $3.7 billion over a 10-year period to have this social experiment in our military. Now, you think of that $3.7 billion. Think of the Tomahawk missiles that would purchase. Think of the aircraft carriers that would purchase, our Army tanks, all the equipment that we need to be able to be strong in the military. And this is what Trump did. No more actively recruiting transgenders, but if you are a transgender, we will honor your contract and let you stay in the military. And then we fast forward, so that transgenderism has stopped, and now we've got the Biden administration, and one of the first things he did was put back in the transgenders into our military. It's like almost on steroids now. We're actually seeing drag queen entertainment at our military bases.
Well, that happened like at Nellis Air Force Base, which is in Las Vegas. And here's what I thought was really interesting about that. Now, again, Nellis Air Force Base near Las Vegas, they hosted a drag queen show in order to demonstrate their commitment to diversity and inclusion. But not everyone was actually pleased with it. In fact, some of them said, this is embarrassing for our military. And some of you might think this is okay, but many more of us are disgusted and find this appalling and disrespectful to those in uniform, past and present. On a global stage, we are being laughed at, which is exactly your point. We're supposed to represent. Listen, I'll be honest, having been born in Germany, having been born and raised in Europe, I still believe that the greatest military on the planet is the United States military. And I do think we have to ask the question, what is happening to the image of strength when we're allowing people to parade drag queen, men wearing makeup? That is not the purpose of the military.
And when you think of that money that is going into that drag queen, they were paid to be there to entertain. That is our taxpayer dollars. When the DOD goes to Congress and says we need X amount of dollars, well, we think as taxpayers it's going to build up our military, but it's going to these social experiment programs that have no place in the military. And we just, it's really just an opportunity to bring it to light and just to show what is happening to our soldiers, our men and women that are in the military serving right now.
Well, so we have to go back to asking why. What is the reason and the purpose of that, and who is behind that, and why are we allowing this kind of nonsense,
Absolutely.
To happen? It all goes back to it's Marxism, socialism, communism. And if anybody hasn't read the book Rules for Radicals, you need to read Rules for Radicals. They're trying to, and what did they say? We're not going to be tumbled down from without. It's going to be from within. So taking care of taking down the family, all the other things, but the military, because we are supposed to. It's power, or really peace through strength.
Absolutely.
And this is not strength. This is not, I mean, this is like silliness.
It's strategic
it's
to break
strategic,
down
absolutely.
that moral, that fiber of what is in the military.
And then, and also, and if you do stand, then what happens? Then you're going to be demoted, and then we're going to talk about that, I think,
Yeah,
Debbie.
I think we'll
Yes.
talk about that in
You know,
another segment, but I
yes.
think we also have to consider before the military not only represented honor, but it was God and country.
Absolutely.
There was a respect and
Think
an
of
honor
George-
for
yes.
God. That's completely being stripped away, which I know we'll talk about in a later segment.
So if we just stay tuned, we would love to have you join us back. In the meantime, we are Women Impacting the Nation. We would love for you to go to our website, womenimpactingthenation.org. We would love to hear from you. There's an opportunity on our website where you can contact us, reach out to us. You have questions, we'd love to hear from you, and we will certainly follow up with anything that you have to offer, any thoughts that you have on our programming. And so we'll see you on the next segment.
At Win Talk Radio, we talk truth so we can take action. And whenever I think of what that means, I really think of the sons of Issachar in 1 Chronicles 12, where it says they understood the times and they knew what they should do. I think right now in our country, most people, they don't understand the times, therefore they don't know what they should do. To really understand the times that we're in is to recognize, number one, that truth is under assault. And because truth is under assault, it impacts our moral compass. Our moral compass is shaken up, it's broken kind of like a snow globe. And ultimately what we see going on is life. There is a complete reckless disregard for human life. When we can kill the unborn to the tune of almost 1 million every single year, that should give every single one of us great pause. And that's not just some people's issue, that is every single one of our issue. Because the most important, inalienable right that we have is the right to life. But it isn't just life that's under assault. Our religious freedom and liberties are under assault. Even when it comes to just the idea of truth, when children are being taught that you can choose your sex, or that there are over 100 different genders, or maybe when our children are being taught about critical race theory and that every single white person is a racist, because this whole idea that racism is everywhere at all times, and that there are those who are oppressed and those that are the oppressors. We need to understand the times and we need to know what to do. You see, that also means that they understood action was required. We have a moral responsibility, a moral obligation to not just talk about it, to not just complain, but to also take action. That's why at WIN, we talk truth so we can all take action.
Welcome back to Win Talk Radio. We have been talking this session about the military and what's been happening to the military under the Biden administration. We just talked about transgenders in the military, and now we want to move on to critical race theory and what our men and women are being taught. This is just what we're seeing in the culture. Now it's gone into the military on steroids, where they are actually having training sessions in the military about police brutality, about systemic racism, and about white supremacy. Now, far be it during this critical race theory, when we're talking about white supremacy and racism, there's no mention of Antifa. There's no mention of Black Lives Matter and the destruction that they are rioting and doing into our cities. And when you think about the military and the training that our men and women need to be as sharp and as efficient as they can be during a wartime scenario, we're taking away valuable training time, valuable time that our soldiers need for training, and teaching them this mantra of the critical race theory. We actually have congressional members, senators and congressmen, that are getting calls from our active duty servicemen and women saying this is what they're hearing. And it's breaking the camaraderie that is needed in a wartime scenario where you've got one person on your right, one person on your left, and you've got to count on that person 110%. And when they hear stories about racism and white supremacy, there's actually a quote from a young woman that is recently recruited into the Air Force. And she actually shared with Senator Tom Cotton, "I had no idea the Air Force was so racist. I would never have joined if I had known that." That is so false, and that is such a destruction to our military and to what the camaraderie is needed to be warriors, and warriors that can depend on who is on their right and on their left. And I know, Jannique, you hear a lot of this when you're out, at college universities and at schools, and they're getting taught the critical race theory. What are your thoughts? Why is this push so important?
Well, again, this is an ideological battle, number one. Number two, we have to remember there is an agenda behind it. And in fact, there was an op-ed recently called "Why the U.S. Military Academies Should Teach Critical Race Theory." Now, agreeing with the Joint Chiefs Chairman, General Mark Milley Garcia, claimed that critical race theory, get this, is unpatriotic, or it's not unpatriotic, and it does not promote division amongst the military members. But we know that cannot be true. Number one, they're not talking about systemic racism as if it were in the past. Part of critical race theory, which I know we'll actually talk about on another show, so in case you're wondering, what exactly is critical race theory? Trust me, we will actually be back in another show and we will go through that for you so that you're not thinking, what is going on? But with that said, though, it is critically important that we understand that the military is now caving to this woke agenda, and they're teaching critical race theory. One of the ideas is that America is currently racist. Not past tense, but that right now in 2021, America is a racist country. Now, if we're supposed to be working together, we are the United States of America. I believe that this critical race theory is actually doing so much more division than it is uniting one another. And I cannot imagine having to go through trainings where now you are being indoctrinated, is the appropriate word. They're being indoctrinated to believe that racism is somehow continuous, that it's systemic, and that it's going to continue, and that you're now looking at the people next to you that you're supposed to be fighting with, and now you're looking at them as the oppressor, because that is what CRT, critical race theory, teaches, that there is a power struggle between the oppressor and the oppressed. And who was the oppressor? It is the white individual. So imagine, we're supposed to be out there working together, and now you're looking at your neighbor, the person who's supposed to have your back, and you're actually questioning if they even have your back because you've been taught that they're racist.
What a great way to break down that esprit de corps, which is so critical when you're looking at a military environment. And I know, Sue, you've got family members, you've got history of a strong sense of spirit for the military, and you see this happening, we all see it happening. What are your thoughts?
Well, number one, this is obviously an agenda, as Jannique said. It's purposeful, and this all goes back to, we talked about it earlier, Marxism, communism, socialism, to take down America. We are not perfect in America, but we are exceptional because of the diversity, and saying that word, it's because we come from all different backgrounds, we come from different countries, but we came here as a melting pot to work together.
Absolutely.
And not to, like you said, oppress. This is all a power grab. This is all, again, an agenda. And it's I mean, I don't even know what my dad would say. I mean, my dad was, 1st Marine Division, Guadalcanal. He was a man's man. He was the old breed. And where men were men, they weren't, weenie, whiny, wimpy. They stood for truth, and and to defend our country. And we should be patriotic. When the flag goes by in a parade, you stand up and you put your hand on your heart. I mean, when I see a flag, I tear up. And Lee Greenwood's song, I'm proud to be an American.
Yeah.
What is that? If you're not proud to be an American, if you're so bamboozled by the lies, and again, we talked in the last segment about Satan dividing and being chaotic and all this confusion, well, that's not of God. Because God is not a God of confusion. And so, but when you're seeing all this, people that don't love America, they're not proud to be an American, then you know what, I really, with all due respect, I say, you know what, it's okay that you leave. But why aren't you leaving? It's because you love what we have created here in America. From the technology to the, let's just call, what it is, AOC. She loves socialism. She's in her 30s. She's never lived or been to a socialist country, like where I come from. I come from Caracas, Venezuela. But she has her, grande latte, coffee, whatever, from Starbucks, and she has her Movado watch and a $2,000 jacket that she probably wouldn't have, and with all due respect, there's nothing wrong with being a bartender, but she was a bartender, she probably would never have been able to afford a $2,000 jacket, but now she's in a position to dictate to us, we the people. She doesn't, she works for us, we don't work for them. So we need to start standing up for truth. To me, I love calling. We need to be calling our senators that are on,
Right.
So talk about that, Deb, because I think, we'll talk about our call to action in the next section. But we need to get involved in.
We just need to stay focused on the truth, and we need to keep speaking the truth. If we were such an oppressive, racist nation, why do we see over 2 million blacks coming into this country, willingly coming into this country, and just thanking the Lord that they are here in this nation? Why do we see people on our borders now trying to get in? If we were such a horrible, hate-filled nation, why would they come here? And I agree with what you said about AOC. If we are so horrible, why do we have the freedoms and the liberties that we have, and this woman can walk around with a $2,100 jacket on and still hate this country? Our military is there to lift us up, and we are there to lift them up and be so proud that they are serving to protect us, to keep us safe at night. And we just need to be aware of this, and we just need to keep talking the truth amongst ourselves so that we get strength, so we can take action. And we're going to end this segment right now, but we're going to come back with one other segment and really talking about what's happening in the military for religious freedom and what our soldiers and sailors are facing. So please check us out, womenimpactingthenation.org, and we'll be right back.
Ephesians 6:13 says, "And having done all, you stand." But what are you standing for? We at Win Talk Radio, we stand for truth and facts, not emotion and conjecture. And our tagline at Win Talk Radio is talk truth and take action. So come join us, take action to save our republic, to ensure our liberty. Because remember, when we show up, we win.
Well, welcome back to our final segment for this show on Women Impacting the Nation, Win Talk Radio, where we have been talking about the military. We've talked about transgenders in the military. We've talked about the influence of CRT in the military. And the last thing we wanted to talk about was religious liberty and how the military really has become a hostile environment to our men and women in the military of faith. And I talked a little bit in the beginning of this segment, of this show, about George Washington and that icon of just what really resembled faith in a soldier. And that was Washington on his knees praying before he's going into battle. And what strength is that for any sailor, any soldier, any airman, anybody that's out there going into a battle, that they wouldn't want to reach out to God in their faith to ask for that grace and mercy and protection. And what we're seeing now in the military, not only did we see it during the Obama administration, whereas Trump came back in hard and fast with executive orders lifting up faith in our military, now we've got the Biden administration that is almost on steroids, again, assault within the military on religious liberty. We see things where at the VAs, no more Gideon Bibles are allowed to be in the VA. Now, do you think about those veterans and whatever health issues they're dealing with, and what a comfort a Bible would be to those people that are willing, that need to reach over and grab a Gideon's Bible. You think about the static displays that are at the VAs, where you've got the POW MIA, the missing man table, where they have historically had a Bible along with other displays on the table. That Bible is now been taken off of that table. What is symbolic about that to our men and women in the military? We have women, actually a young Marine woman who at her desk at work, around her computer, she had 3 Bible verses. Now, all of her comrades that were around with her, they have their little workstations and they've got their little sayings and their little pictures. This particular Marine young woman had her Bible verses, and her commanding officer did not like the tone of those Bible verses. Not only was that Marine required to take those verses down, but she was reduced in rank. Like you said, Jannique, when you talk out or when you show, any kind of a statement against what the mantra is, she lost her rank and was pretty much persecuted by her CO. Now, I will say that particular case, that young woman has taken her case to the Supreme Court, and we're waiting on a decision about her rank and her ability to have those verses. But it's little insidious things like that that are happening in our military. Our chaplains, for heaven's sakes. This is their faith to lift up the soldiers and our military in their time of need. And they're even being challenged on what they're talking privately to those military active duty members. It's just another affront of what we see is happening, and it's what's happening under the Biden administration that we need to be aware of. And I know, Sue, we always talk about our faith and how our faith gets us through our day-to-day situations. What does that feel like to you, for knowing that our military, the men and women that are standing to protect our nation, are not able to practice their faith?
Well, if somebody's not gonna, they have to feel so really oppressed and just really down, only because who has their back, right? If the administration doesn't have their back, we the people need to start standing, number
Absolutely.
one. But they also can go to the Lord. The Lord is the one that sustains them. But you made a point when you said that, when Obama did his executive orders, and then Trump came in and redid the executive orders to come to a constitutional way. It really goes to show why it's so important for we the people to be educated with truth and facts, know our Constitution, know what our rights are, so that we can vote people in
Absolutely.
that know our Constitution, that really have America's back, so that it can be passed, because Congress, right? Because Congress makes laws, and so that the Congress can make laws that really defend our country, because they put their hand on a Bible, swear to uphold the U.S. Constitution. Well, they are usurping that. But what happens is, so now we're going to get another, president, and
It's
so
like
because Biden is ping-ponging
hokey-pokey.
it.
Yes.
It is. It's you're in today, you're out tomorrow. So now that's why it's so vital for Americans to really understand the whole picture of not only America and why America's so great, but why we have to defend our military, because they're like ping pong balls going back and forth. Like, okay, today we can't say this and tomorrow we can't say that. We can't pick our Bibles up, we can't do this. So voting that so that there's a law, so that the next administration can't come in and just change it on executive orders.
Absolutely.
I mean,
But actually talking about that religious freedom and the assault specifically on Christianity. There's actually a Marine whistleblower that came out recently, and they revealed from leadership what was being told, and this is from an open letter. We were instructed that there is a Taliban-like threat in the United States called domestic terrorism. These terrorists are characterized in part by anti-government, anti-authority, or abortion-related extremism and various supremacist ideas. He went on to express, do you suspect someone supports an extremist ideology? But then it even got worse. Do you suspect, again, someone supports an extremist ideology? Notify the Naval Criminal Investigative Service. Don't handle anything on your own. Just rat them out. After all, service is a privilege. And it would be a shame to lose that privilege for failing to do your part to stamp out extremists. Now think about that. That means those who are Christians who hold to a pro-life view, we're now being in the military, we're being considered now that somehow we're like the Taliban, that we are extremists. And for someone to say you need to rat out your colleague because of their extreme views, that is division. Again, that is not unity, and that is hostile to faith.
And it's not just someone. It is your commanding officers. It is the people that you emulate, that you respect, and they are telling you you cannot trust each other. That is more of a divide in our military.
I think that actually makes those who are Christians, if they're not bold, if they don't have people praying for them, they're going to be in the closet Christians, and they're going to be afraid to possibly pray. They're going to be afraid to stand up for truth. They're probably going to be afraid to even say who they're voting for because they don't want to be associated with the Taliban. That's horrible.
And isn't that an assault, just an assault on America? These are the military men and women that are standing for our freedoms, and yet we're taking them away from them if they serve in the military. And just in closing with what we've talked about, the transgenders, the CRT, the loss of religious liberty in the military, all the assaults that our men and women are facing right now. These are men and women that swore to uphold the Constitution. They will go into battle for us, for our families. And what are we doing back here? Are we ignoring what's happening, the assault that they're under? This is where it's time to take action. We're talking truth. We're letting you know what's happening in the military. Now you take action. And how do you take action? Number one, if you see a military personnel, just thank them and let them know that we are praying for them. But you have the opportunity. Pick up the phone. Go online. Look at the Armed Services Committee. This is the congressional committee that has jurisprudence over our military. That committee is filled with senators and representatives. Find out who they are. And there are several of them, so I don't want to just sit here and name them off now. I want you to go look them up. Find out who they are, get their phone number, pick up the phone and let them know that you support the military and you do not support this Biden administration that is breaking our military down. No military service person needs to go in battle looking over their shoulder. They need to be looking forward at the enemy and knowing that they can count on who's on their right and who's on their left. We need to let them know we have got their back. They've got our back. We need to let them know that we are there for them. I encourage you, I pray that you will reach out, get the members of the Armed Services Committee, and let them know how you feel about our military. We thank you so much for joining us today. We're Women Impacting the Nation. This is Win Talk Radio. Please check out our website and just let us know how you feel about anything we talk about, anything you want to hear about within our privy. Thank you and God bless. Here at Win Talk Radio, as Judeo-Christians in America, we have three choices. We can either fight, we can support the fighters, or we can do nothing. We encourage you all, take a stand today.
Thank you for joining us at Win Talk Radio. For more information, contact us at womenimpactingthenation.org for questions, suggestions, or for more information, call us at 844-946-8255. Be sure to tune in next week for another episode of Win Talk Radio. And remember, when we show up, we win.